Welcome back to another episode of Cape Ann Today. I'm here with Jayne Knott from TownGreen for Cape Ann, and she's going to tell us about a very interesting series of webinars/workshops focused intensely on specific local ecosystems. The pilot program begins on October 26th at 6:30. This is a webinar and a workshop on the Good Harbor Beach ecosystem. This webinar is called Protecting and Preserving the Good Harbor Beach Ecosystem for Current and Future Generations. Hi, Jayne. Thank you for being with me.
Hi, Heather. It's my pleasure.
So tell us, let's just start by telling us exactly what is the Good Harbor Beach ecosystem? What does it cover?
Well, the Good Harbor Beach, people think of the Good Harbor Beach as really just the beach, but it's the beach, and it's what we call the sandbar, which is actually a tombolo because it connects the mainland to an island, and then the island of Salt Island. And then behind Good Harbor Beach, well, you have at the top of the tide, you have the dunes, and then behind the dunes, you have a salt marsh, beautiful salt marsh with a creek. So the whole area, including the beach and the salt marsh and the island, would be considered the ecosystem.
Okay, so then tell us about these workshops and why you are focused. You're starting with this ecosystem, but then you'll also be addressing some others. So tell us about the general mission of these workshops.
Well, I'm a part of TownGreen. TownGreen is a local organization, grassroots organization that's trying to raise awareness of climate change and the impacts here on Cape Ann and also the greater and the surrounding area. So it includes not only Cape Ann, but Manchester and Essex and surrounding areas. And basically what we're trying to do is we're a group of citizens that are acting as a catalyst, informing the public about climate change and what we can do about it. And so basically what we've done is we engaged the Harvard School of Design to do a study, which is on our website, the TownGreen website. And it starts with a kind of a setup of the Great Storm, which might occur in 2038. And it gives the public a sense of what Cape Ann would look like under these conditions. And so that's a really interesting read for folks. And then we decided to take that study and other studies and focus in on specific areas of interest to the people in town. And the first one is Good Harbor Beach. And Good Harbor Beach is clearly an iconic beach for the people of this community and people outside of this community. So that's basically why we started this workshop series.
And so am I connecting those 2 points? Are you looking at the impact of perhaps this great 2028 storm on an ecosystem like Good Harbor Beach?
Well, what we're doing is we're focusing in the workshop. We're focusing on changes, incremental changes that are occurring to Good Harbor Beach because of climate change. Mm-hmm. So that big storm, we're going to discuss that, but we're also going to talk about small changes to water quality, changes in sea level rise, changes in erosion, things like that. But we call it a workshop because we really want to get feedback from the local community. Mm-hmm. We want people to tell their stories about Good Harbor Beach, tell us what they love about Good Harbor Beach, tell us their history on Good Harbor Beach, and to talk about some changes that they're seeing. So we're trying to invite many different people to this workshop: the surfers, the dog walkers, the people who are protecting the piping plovers, people who just, bring their kids to the beach, all different walks of life who enjoy the beach and the island and the salt marsh behind that. And get their stories, and then also try to inform them about what the future looks like and get their feedback on that. So there'll be a lot of time for people to interact. We're going to have breakout groups, and we'll have those comments recorded, and then we'll get back together as a larger group and summarize things.
So in this particular workshop focused on Good Harbor Beach, there are 3 parts, right? So the first meeting will be on October 26th, and then there'll be 2 more. Is that what I understand?
That's right.
Okay, so tell us just about the speakers who you'll have, because it looks kind of exciting on October 26th.
So on October 26th, we're just going to give an intro. We'll start with an introduction of what TownGreen is doing as a Cape Ann as a regional response area to climate change, and we're hoping to be kind of an example for other communities. And then we'll go into Good Harbor Beach, past and present. And we've got Mary Ellen LaBianca speaking. She's a local historian. You may have interviewed her in the past. She's really great. And she'll give a brief history of Good Harbor Beach, which should be interesting for all of us. And then we have Denton Cruz, who is the head of the Friends of Good Harbor organization. And they've done studies on the salt marsh and Good Harbor Beach in the past. And they have a great knowledge. This organization has a great knowledge of the whole ecosystem. So he'll give a brief summary of some of the work that they've done. And we'll talk a little bit about the current threats to the Good Harbor Beach ecosystem, one being the contamination in the creek that's happening. And then we'll break into groups and discuss that and basically ask the question, what is Good Harbor? What does the ecosystem mean to you? What changes are you seeing? And what do you see as current and future threats? And then the third part of this workshop, we'll be talking about the future of the ecosystem. And I will talk a little bit about sea level rise and show some slides on what it will look like with various levels of sea level rise and how it will change. And then Professor Waldheim from the Harvard School of Design will talk about his study on the great storm that I was just telling you about in the beginning. And of course, this would be a hurricane that comes on top of sea level rise. And it's, it's hypothetical, but it gives people a sense of what things might look like in the future. And then again, we'll have breakout groups to talk about that. And then we'll introduce the next workshop, which is essentially going over various adaptation strategies that we could, things that we could do to protect this ecosystem, and also the road and the infrastructure around it and the community that lives around this area and works around the area. So that's it for this workshop. And then the third workshop will be after we go over some of the adaptation strategies. How do we go about implementing that? Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 workshops.
So this is all focused on Good Harbor Beach, and then as I understand it, TownGreen will select different ecosystems in each of the other Cape Ann towns to sort of focus on as so we can see in the context of these ecosystems what climate change actually looks like. Is that right?
Exactly. The idea is to focus in on very local areas and get the community involved in the discussion. Mm-hmm. So that they can not only see what might be happening in the future, but also talk about what we can do now to mitigate or adapt to these changes. Mm-hmm. And, as you know, the climate change affects everyone. And so it's not just for the scientists, it's not just for the policymakers, it's not just for the engineers, it's for everyone. And so everybody has to be part of this conversation, and that's what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. So I anticipate that we'll hear about the announcements about the other towns and their programs, their workshops farther into the year, right?
Yes, you will. Okay. The best place to go is the TownGreen website, and sign up for the newsletter. We have a newsletter that goes out, so that will keep you informed with what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then all of these events will be posted on the website with a way to register.
Yeah, and we'll have the Zoom link to register for this particular workshop on our notes, but it's also on the TownGreen TownGreen.org site, I think maybe.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so.
something.
TownGreen2025.org, I believe.
So lastly, I would love to hear about your work with Hydropredictions. You are the founder of Hydropredictions. What is that work and what are you doing there?
Yeah, well, my training is I'm a civil engineer. I have a PhD in civil engineering, but it's really environmental engineering.
Mhm.
And I've spent my career doing hydrology, mainly groundwater hydrology, looking at contaminated sites and how it affects our drinking water, and cleaning up contaminated sites and things like that all over the country. But recently I got really fascinated with this whole issue of climate change. And so I wanted to get involved with that. And I got involved with the University of New Hampshire. And they're doing a lot of great work in coastal New Hampshire, which is, it's really cool. I think they're able to do a lot of work up there because they have such a small coast. And so all of the communities are talking to each other and working together. So I got involved with looking at sea level rise and how it affects groundwater systems, and also how it affects infrastructure, coastal road infrastructure, and sources of contamination and things like that. So then I got involved with working with the University of Massachusetts in Boston and doing a study on climate change and how it affects groundwater in the greater Boston area. So basically that's been my climate change work, but I continue to do the environmental cleanup work. I'm working with the EPA on cleaning up coal sites and things like that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for all the work you're doing with TownGreen. And again, we'll have all the notes to these workshops and / webinars in our notes here. But do you want to mention it one more time? TownGreen 2025?
Yeah, TownGreen, it's www.towngreen2025.org.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jayne. And I look forward to the webinar.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
I look forward to having you there and being a part of it.
I will. And by the way, we should mention that there's no one that you don't have to be a Gloucester resident to participate, right?
You do not. You
Okay.
just have to love Good Harbor Beach and want to learn more.
Okay, great.
Oh, one other thing I should mention is that the day after the workshop webinar on the 26th, so this is the 27th, which I believe is a Thursday, we're going to have a field trip.
Oh, okay.
So people can come to the beach and we'll walk around and look at the things that we've discussed. And we chose the 27th because that's an astronomical high tide. So it's a good time to take a look at where the high tide is and where it may be in the future.
Great. Well, that sounds exciting too.
Great.
So, well, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Bye.
Bye.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.